And just like that, we are underway. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Scripting Fridays. We used to be Scripting Thursdays, but today is our inaugural Friday episode. So thank you for shifting a day with me and for me. I'm going to share my screen. And Allison, I know this is your first time here, so I'm going to kind of describe the flow, and then I'll answer your question specifically. All right?
Great.
Let me get this up and watch this. And can everyone see my title screen?
Yes.
So the agenda that we usually follow, Allison, is I always bring some content. Right now, we've been working for the last probably 12 weeks on seller scripts. And today we're going to cover downsizers. And then at the end, I open it up for questions relating to the content, but also if anybody has a current specific need and says, hey, what would you say in this circumstance? We cover that at the end. But since you're a first timer, you can absolutely ask your question straight away.
Okay, thanks. Well, it's kind of along those lines. So I mailed out a bunch of cards or letters, and they're going to start calling me. And I said I have a buyer for their home, and I do, but they're investors. So what's the best way to approach the call when they start calling me?
Oh, that's a great one. In fact, if you go literally last week, we covered my technique for this specifically.
Wow.
I didn't cover as much the inbound call script. So this is actually really helpful because this is additive, but I would encourage you to watch that video because I go through in great detail how I cover that meeting and how I pivot to list or pivot to the cash offer or even rehab if the house, would benefit from it. So inbound call, and the call to action in the letter was, I've got a buyer, right?
Yeah.
So it's really
similar to that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really straightforward. And a lot of sellers these days, because a lot of people are using that. You remember the yellow letter campaign?
Is that the golden letter?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm using is the golden letter. Yeah.
So that's the original company was yellowletter.com. So golden letter probably is just a copycat that does a good job. So anyway, the point I'm making is property owners have been receiving these letters for a long time, and they've kind of grown skeptical. Like a lot of people use these letters and don't have a buyer. The good news for you is you do have a buyer. The reason I'm pointing all this out is your mission is going to be to see the property though without your buyer. Because
I don't know. I mean, flippers, they have a margin, so it might, it's going to be, tough to have that be a match.
Exactly. So what I would do is the inbound call comes in, you say hello, they say, hi, this is so-and-so, I got your letter, and I want to see if your buyer is interested in my house. And all I'm going to say is, great, when's a good time for me to come by? And if they say, well, do you really have a buyer? Right? You know how to answer that. The answer is obviously yes. And actually, I have more than one. And the reason I want to say more than one is that gives me the ability to say, no, I'm not bringing my quote buyer with me because I have more than one. So I'm going to vet it for my stable of investors, my group of investors, my couple of investors, however you want to say it. When's a good time for me to come by? Like all I'm ever doing, and this comment is for everybody, not just Allison with this campaign. The purpose of a phone is to book an appointment. That's the only reason I'm on the phone with you. If you're calling me from that letter, is I'm trying to get in your house, right? So if you keep it somewhat brief and just say, that's great, when's a good time for me to come by? The majority of people making that phone call aren't going to push back and say, do you really have a buyer? Or I'm only going to let you come to my house if you bring your buyer, that kind of thing. If somebody is in that minority and is insistent that I bring my buyer, I've done it both ways. I've brought a buyer. I've even brought, an agent in my office and said, pretend to be my, but you also could say, no, I'm just not going to do that. And if that's for some reason, some sort of threshold you're asking agents to meet, I'm not the right person for you. So thanks for calling.
Do you ask their motivation on the call, or do you wait till you get on the appointment?
I don't want to ask really anything until I get in front of them, because all of us are more compelling face to face than we are over the phone, right? Mm-hmm. So I truly am only closing for the appointment over the phone.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right. So definitely watch that video from last week. It's on theagentcollective.com. If you go into the Agent Power Huddle library, you'll find it. They usually upload it within a couple days of today. So last week's will definitely be in there. And I actually have.
There, she put it in the chat. Thank you. Because I would not have found it. Thank you so much.
And there's a handy 1-pager document that I cover in that video. So you can get that from Autumn as well, or shoot me an email. I can send it to you.
Thank you. Awesome.
You betcha. Good.
Great.
So most of you know me. If you've been here before, I've sold a lot of houses. I've tried and failed at a lot of scripts. So that's why I'm qualified to opine on them. But today we're going to focus on downsizers. Actually, Tina last week said, can you cover age in place next week? Well, I'm not sure if Tina's on this call today, but age in place means keeping somebody in the home. We don't get paid if somebody stays in the home. So I'm going to rephrase it as downsizers, because that's a part of the market that I serve, and you should serve as well. So we're going to start by kind of understanding what a downsizer is. It's kind of obvious to a lot of folks, but what may not be as obvious is why, like their motivation, right? So typically it's going to be somebody in their 60s. They live in a home that's too big for them because they raised their kids there, right? And now it's becoming a burden on them to maintain it. They don't use half of the house or more, right? They've never been upstairs or whatever. Why would we want to work with them? Well, people in their 60s, they're not assholes, right? They can be more pleasant to work with in a lot of ways. Not all of them, but the majority of them. The other beautiful thing about downsizers is, guess what? They need to find a place to move into, right? So you can help them buy the next place as well as liquidate the current place. So they represent two deals for you, which is always a good thing and a win. So what do most downsizers, what are they kind of dying to know? Well, there's actually a lot of things, a lot of questions that they have, right? Overall, it's basically how to do it. But they also want to know, how much does it cost? Is it expensive? Are there ways to save money doing it? Are there pitfalls or problems that come up that maybe they can anticipate and avoid? How do they get ready to move, right? Should I find the new house first? A lot of people don't even know what a contingent offer is. What about a simultaneous closing, but a non-simultaneous possession date? A lot of agents don't even understand that sentence, right? But you're an expert, so you do. You know that closing simultaneously allows the money to flow simultaneously and allows them to purchase that next place. But moving doesn't happen instantaneously, right? So what we want to do is navigate these waters so that they get their money and can close on the new sale, but that they don't have to give up possession of their current house for a week or maybe 2, which gives them time to move, right? But if you distill that down to, hey, I'm an expert in navigating simultaneous closings with non-simultaneous possession dates, they're going to think you have a big brain, and your credibility goes up when you start using phraseology and terms that they've not heard before, right? They'll also want to know, do they need 2 agents, right? And a lot of times they're wondering, is this like a specialty, right? For you, the agent, are you a specialist? And the short answer is absolutely. You're going to be after today. And I've got some other resources I'm going to share with you at the end if you want to dig in a little deeper. So how can we help? Well, number one is you let them know that this is a part of the market that you specialize in, right? You're an expert. You should get paid like a specialist rather than a generalist, right? We get paid more because we're specialists. Not only do you know what the answers are to those questions on the last screen, but you also know how to deliver results, right? I had this conversation yesterday with somebody who's 67, and I said, we're going to focus on the end game, which is you landing in the right spot, right? It's like story selling. Have you guys ever read that book or heard of that term? You want to paint the lifestyle for folks so that they can envision themselves in that next chapter, right? So we're going to cover the top 10 scripts that convert. And here's what I'd like you guys to be thinking about. And I'm really glad we're recording this because this is the type of stuff that you want to practice, role play with a fellow agent, and add it to your library of scripts. Because when you're talking to a potential downsizer, you might use more than one of these, but each of them has a different tone and a tenor, and it's going to address a concern that they could have. So one of the things that we do on my team before we even launch into our listing presentation, when we're meeting with the seller, is we ask them 3 questions. And if you're watching this video, you can go back to one of the previous videos where I covered those 3 questions in great detail. I'll tell you what they are right now, though. We ask, what are your top 3 goals for this transaction? What are your top 3 to-dos before you'll be ready to put it on the market? And then the third question we ask is, what do you expect from the real estate community? And the reason I ask that third question that way, which can be a little confusing, especially to customers, it might even be confusing to you right now. But the reason I ask it is what it tends to bring into the conversation is previous past bad experiences, right? And I'll say that to them. If they look at me like, what do you mean real estate community? I'll say, well, usually when I ask this question, people ask or answer with maybe some bad experiences that they've had. Maybe the agent that showed your last house didn't lock the door on the way out or let your cat out or whatever. And so a lot of times they'll either bring forth a negative experience that I can preemptively address, or they won't have a negative experience and we'll just move on, right? But the point I'm making is when you ask, what are your top 3 goals and what are your top 3 to-dos, they're usually going to share something that gives them angst, right? Or stresses them out. And that's where these 10 scripts are going to come into play because you're going to be able to use them to allay their concerns, right? So let's dive in. The first script is the empathy script. You want them to know that you're empathic, that you empathize with their situation, and you're able to help them navigate this, right? You've traveled this path before. That's very comforting to people. It doesn't matter if they're older or not, right? People want to know that you're kind of a Sherpa, right? A guide. So it sounds like this. I understand that downsizing can feel overwhelming, but it's also an exciting opportunity to simplify and focus on what matters most. My goal is to make this process seamless for you, whether it's finding the right buyer for your current home or securing a new space that fits your lifestyle perfectly. They've not thought of this in this way, right? They've thought of, oh man, I got to pack up 40 years of knickknacks that I've accumulated or whatever. But they don't think it all the way through. And so you're here not only to help them do that, but to show them that you've done it before, right? Number 2, the lifestyle appeal script, right? So this is where you're getting somebody to envision what their life is going to be like in their new home. Have you thought about how much easier life could be in a smaller, more manageable space? Downsizing doesn't mean giving up comfort. It's about gaining freedom, reducing maintenance, and focusing on enjoying the next chapter of your life. So you're helping them get over that anxiety of, man, we're going from a 3,200 square foot house to a 1,500 square foot condo. How the hell are we going to do that? Right? Have you thought about how easy it is to just lock up the convo and go to the airport? Right? A lot of people, when I'm having these conversations, they'll bring up mowing the lawn. I'm so tired of maintaining this yard, or I'm tired of mowing this lawn, right? Well, help them envision how this move is going to make all of those burdens much lighter, right? Financial freedom, right? We can focus on the finances for people. By downsizing, many homeowners free up significant equity from their current homes. I'd love to help you explore how this move could reduce your expenses, boost your savings, and even open up new opportunities for travel or other priorities. Think of it this way. When somebody has lived in and owned a house for a long time, it's probably free and clear, but it also just, if it has a mortgage, it's probably much smaller, right? Not in all cases, but in most. Well, you can help them arrange the financing at the new place at whatever level they want, right? Once you know how much equity they're going to unlock, you can tell them, hey, if there's a targeted mortgage payment that you're comfortable with, we can back into how much to put down. And then you'll know the rest stays in your bank account for travel and whatever, right? People usually, when you talk to them, they will have thought about this to some degree, but not with any detail. And again, each one of these scripts is demonstrating to them that I've done this before and I'm going to help you get where you want to go, right? Emotional attachments. How often have you heard, I love this house, this is where I raised my kids, right? I've even had people say, my house is worth more because I raised my kids here. How arrogant and wrong is that, right? But there's always an emotional attachment. Shoot, I'm sitting in a house that I've owned for almost 30 years. It's going to be hard, right? Probably harder for my wife than for me, but it's going to be hard. So how do you overcome that emotional connection? It's normal to feel attached to your home, especially if you've lived there for a long time. But downsizing doesn't mean letting go of memories. It's about creating new ones in a home that fits your current needs. And I can help make that transition as smooth as possible. That is such a powerful dialogue. I want you all to just commit that to memory, right? It's normal to feel attached, especially if you've been there a long time. But downsizing doesn't mean letting go of memories. It's about creating new ones. And I can make that transition as smooth as possible. As smooth as pie, right? Simplification is another angle that works with people. Imagine spending less time on upkeep and more time doing the things you love. Downsizing is about simplifying your life while maintaining the quality and comfort you deserve. Let's explore options that fit your vision for the future. It's almost a full-time job for people managing a large home, right? They have stuff they got to do every day to keep that home up. Well, this is going to make that go away, or at least reduce it significantly. Help them paint that picture in their mind, right? You also want, as a specialist, to customize your solutions, right? Well, downsizing looks different for everyone. Whether you're looking for a cozy condo near the city or a home closer to your family where they live, I specialize in finding the perfect space that meets your specific needs. Let's work together to find your ideal match. I've had all the above, right? People have said, I want to move closer to my grandchildren. People have said, I want to move closer to the airport. And then everyone else is somewhere in between. So you definitely want to make sure they know that you're listening and you're going to tailor their solution to their specific needs. What if they're worried about the market, right? You might be wondering, is now the right time to downsize? Well, with today's market trends, you could get top dollar for your current home while taking advantage of opportunities in more affordable segments. Let's explore your options together. That is so true right now, at least in my market. And you have to analyze your own market, right? But in my market, over 25% of the listings in our MLS have been on the market for over 30 days. That means I can help my clients write an aggressive offer. But if we price their home right, we can actually get multiple offers on their current house. That's a unique position to be in, but that is the market we're in here in Seattle, where I am. The key is they have to price their current place realistically and not overly aggressive. And we'll talk about how to do that maybe next week. All right. In fact, I'm going to make a note of that. For next week. Okay. Number 8, highlighting your experience, right? Again, get paid like a specialist, not a generalist. I've helped many homeowners transition from large family homes to spaces that better suit their current lifestyle. My expertise is in making this process stress-free while ensuring you get the most value out of your current property, and I'd love to do the same for you. Do you notice I didn't put the word smaller home in there, right? You don't want them to feel like they're going to have to squeeze, like I said earlier, from a 3,200 square foot house and squeeze it into a 1,500 square foot condo or whatever it is, right? But it is a property and a house that better suits their current lifestyle. Maybe they want to travel more. Maybe they just want a smaller yard, whatever. Community focus, right? Downsizing is also about finding the right community for this stage of life. Whether you're seeking a vibrant 55 and above neighborhood, something closer to family, or a peaceful retreat, I can guide you toward the perfect fit. You're going to have some clients where a 55 and over community has crossed their mind and they immediately got rid of it, right? Like got it out of their mind, or they thought, you know what, maybe that could be a good fit. We did that with my mom and it was perfect, right? My father had passed away and we moved my mom into a 55 and over community. She had hundreds of friends almost immediately because of that. So you just want to listen, right? The key is you got to listen and understand what their needs, wants, and desires are. And the last one is the long-term planning script. Downsizing isn't just about today. It's about setting yourself up for the future. By transitioning to a home that's easier to maintain and more cost efficient, you can ensure a better quality of life for years to come. Let's make a plan that works for you. You're going to have clients that say, I want a Rambler. Why is that, right? They don't want stairs. Stairs suck as you get older. So listen, help understand their needs and help them get their needs. That makes sense? And if you want to become an expert, I have an online webinar that's free. It's a ClickFunnels, if you're familiar with ClickFunnels. So, but you guys are free to go opt in on it. If I call you because you opted in, just tell me you're a realtor and you heard about it on this video, and I will stop harassing you. But I would encourage you to check it out, because look at this. Let me find if I scroll down here, so this is just downsizingwa for Washington.com. It's got an intro video, and then it's got 9 separate videos on those questions that I started today with, right? Pitfalls, is it expensive? What if I'm afraid, right? I encourage you guys, you're welcome to take this class. There's no cost, no obligation, none of that. It will be an opportunity for you to learn, and I would love for you to learn. You'll get better at doing this. So thank you all for your patience. What did you think? Are there any questions about downsizing scripts?
Well, it's
yes.
so good. It's nice.
Oh, thank you so much.
Excellent. Excellent.
I
How do you maintain this funnel? Do you maintain, you have to use some other provider? Do you give it to, how do you maintain if somebody asks, like, you know?
Yeah, so that is actually ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson ClickFunnels, if you're familiar with here. There are other ones now that are cheaper, I guess, but I got a ClickFunnels a while ago and I use it. That's the only funnel I've created on it, which is silly because I pay too much to not use it even more. But super effective. And if you guys aren't familiar with ClickFunnels, basically they have a call to action on the first page, and then they're like squeeze pages, and they work people through a process of it's working the law of reciprocity, right? So if somebody gives me their name, I'm going to give them something in return. And then I'm going to ask them for their email, and then I'll give them something else in return. And then they're going to give me their phone number, and so on, right? So as they squeeze down through the funnel, you'll get more contact details. You may not get them all. You know, people sort of eject out of the funnel at various times and places. The phone number is the most common place where they're like, you know, I don't mind getting emails, but I don't want you calling me. That's fine. I mean, I've got drip sequences for address only, drip sequences for email, drip sequences and scripts for calling. So depending on how much I get out of them. But if you haven't worked with a funnel, I would encourage you to check it out. I know Rima just put Flowdesk is one of the ones that, one of the companies that does it as well. It's probably cheaper than ClickFunnels. All right. Christine, you have your hand up. You were muted. I thought you were being funny when you went like this because of you. Yeah.
Did you set yours up yourself with ClickFunnels?
You know what? Funny story. Do you guys know the name Krista Mayshore?
Mayshore method, right?
Yeah. So what's funny is Krista joined EXP after I took her course. So I paid her $2,000 to get the course, and then she joined EXP, and now she gives it to people for free if they join under her. I was like, shoot, I could have saved $2,000. But I'm with EXP now, and I'm in the same organization as her, so we're friends. But it's just funny to me that you squeezed me for a couple grand. Have you done her course though?
I did quite a few of her classes. I'm probably going to be heading on over there. But was it, because I heard it was a little tedious setting it up, the Mayshore method. So
I mean, that's what I loved about her course is she literally gives you her funnels. So
yeah, I love her. I love watching her. She's just a ball of energy.
yeah. If you guys are on this call and you don't know Krista, she is so ClickFunnels, the company has an award called the Double Comma Award. She's won like 7 of them, which means she's created a funnel that's generated $1 million in revenue, and she's done that multiple times. So she's very good at this. I definitely encourage you to take a look at her system. And back to Christine's question, tedious isn't really the right word in my mind, only because she gave it to me as a turnkey solution. Like she literally shares her funnel into your funnel dashboard. And then you do have to go through and edit each page to make it Ed Laine instead of Krista Mayshore. But you can plagiarize a fair amount of it or rewrite it all if you choose. So, you know, it's up to you to see how much you want to customize it.
Right. Well, thanks for that.
Yes. You'll feel free to opt in and check it out. Again, you have to opt in to get access to the videos, which is sort of the point of a ClickFunnels. But don't worry, I'm not going to sell you guys. I'm actually, I'll take a quick picture of the screen so I have all your names. And if I see you, I might send you an email that says hi, but I won't harass you.
Always welcome.
Yeah.
Take care. Yes.
Any other questions?
Except, yeah.
Has anyone helped a downsizer?
Yes.
You has? Christine has?
Me.
Good.
Lots of them. I like it.
Good. Yeah, it's a wonderful part of the market. It's, you know, I always tell, especially newer agents, I'm like, some of the most rewarding work that you can do is, you know, helping first-time home buyers, helping people avoid foreclosure is very rewarding, but helping downsizers is right up there.
Yeah.
Because the current home, the large home, can be a huge source of stress for people. And you're coming in and saying, not only am I going to solve that and get rid of it completely, but I'm going to eliminate the stress of this process of moving. Right. And if you don't do this, you should, which is, I've got a whole list of people that will help you. You know, we have 4 different estate companies, they're called. And those are people that'll sort through their belongings and sort them into 4 piles, keep, donate, sell, and trash. And you'd be amazed how many downsizers take me up on that referral, because they know that they've accumulated a ton of crap in 40 years or whatever, right? And it helps them to feel good about, you know, having somebody who's going to care enough about their belongings to have a keep or a donate category or pile, right? So,
And I was just going to say, my downsizer experience came from my parents, but yeah, it's a tremendous amount of work. And I was going to say the question that you sort of answered was this idea of getting rid of things and simplifying is it can take a while, and it's a tough thing. So I definitely would love to be. I've tried to build some relationships with like estate sale companies locally, because eventually I'm going to be referring them.
it's a great arrow to have in your quiver. I'll tell you one quick funny story and then we'll wrap this up. I helped a client downsize, and she was a hoarder. You couldn't really tell walking around her house other than she had a lot of stuff. You know, it wasn't like wall-to-wall hoarder type scenario. But what we found out later was in the attic space, the entire attic was full of crap, her crap. And my estate gal went over there and she called me and she's like, I need your help. I'm like, what? She goes, I'll carry 3 things out to the junk pile, and she'll follow me and bring 2 of them back in the house. And I'm like, can you put her on the phone, please? So I'm like, not scolding, but I'm like, now remember our goal. I used the lifestyle script, right? Because I wanted to paint that picture of this is where you're going to end up and it's going to be magical. So those scripts will come in handy not only when you're landing the client and converting a lead, but also along the way, because you have to remind them of why they're going through this process. So thanks everybody for hanging out with me. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks to you.
Thank you. So next week, we're going to go over, when I get the appointment from the calls, what to say in the house.
Don't say that's what we went over last week, Alice.
Oh, okay.
So the video that Autumn put in the chat, did you copy that?
Yep, I did.
So watch that. And then next week, if you have questions that come out of that video, we can definitely answer those. But what I plan to cover next week is a process we call the Color Picture CMA Tour. And it's a method to get sellers to be realistic about list price. But it is a psychological game that we play, and I will cover that in great detail.
Exciting.
But happy to answer any questions that come out of the meeting video too.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
See you next
Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.